Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video I will show you how you can secure your app directories data using secure enclave and HMAC signing in React Native's new architecture for iOS. Now you might be knowing that we can't store large amount of data in keychain, and also if you want to store you can use something like core data or Swift data, but that also you will have to encrypt. Another easy way is to use documents directory to save some data, but you can secure that data as well using secure enclave and HMAC signing. So that's what we will be looking in this tutorial. Now I have run my application via Xcode. You don't have to run it via Xcode, you can just run it via the yarn iOS command. Also, if you see, I have 4 buttons. First 2 for saving and reading unencrypted data, last 2 for saving and reading encrypted data. So if I click on save unencrypted data, here you can see it is giving me the file path. That's why I've ran it via Xcode. If I go to that particular file path, if I just copy this particular file, okay, and if I just go to folder, I'll just paste this, and here you can see it has saved this file. If I open with it, the data is unencrypted format. If I try to read it, here you can see unencrypted data. Now what I'll do is I will just save encrypted data. So the data has been saved, and if I click on read encrypted data, here you can see I'm getting encrypted data. And if I open the file where this was stored, here you can see we are able to see the encrypted data. If the user tries to tamper with this data, then they won't be able to fetch it. So yeah, that's what this is. Let's see how to do this. So again, we will be using the new architecture documentation because we need to write some Objective-C code as well as native iOS code as well with Swift. So first, just create a React Native application. You can use this particular command. You don't have to specify the version, use whatever is the latest version. You can change the project name to whatever you feel like. You just don't have to use turbo module example. Once you create a project, again this is only for iOS, so we have to create a folder called specs inside our React Native project. So here you can see I have created a folder called specs. Inside that we have to create a TypeScript file. Now here they have named it as native local storage. In my case it does not make sense, so I have named it as native save storage. You can give whatever name you feel like, but do remember, start with the name of native, then you can give whatever name you feel like. But if you give some different name from me, do remember that name because we need to use that name in lot other places as well. So if you are doing this for the very first time, it's better you follow what I am doing. Once that is done, I have just copied this entire bit of TypeScript code and I have just pasted it over here. Now I have just changed the method names as well as the input types as well as the return type as well. So for save unencrypted, it will take the value which you want to store, and if you want you can give a success message as well, but I don't want it. I have just kept it as word. For reading unencrypted data, I am just returning back the string whatever you have saved. Similarly for saving unencrypted, it will take a value, and for reading encrypted, it will just return back the string. Then this particular name also have changed. Again, it depends on what TypeScript file name you have provided, so it depends on that. Okay, so that is done. Then you will have to go to your package.json and copy paste this bit of code. I have already done that. So go to package.json and make sure you copy paste this bit of code. Now again you will have to change this to whatever is your TypeScript file name followed by the word spec. So don't miss the word spec. And here again it should be your TypeScript file name in lowercase. So don't forget that. Once you do that, another important step which has not been specified in the documentation is do run npm install, because otherwise you will face lot of issues. So make sure you do run npm install because the package.json file has changed. Then for iOS, you will have to cd to the iOS directory like this from your React Native project. Then you will have to run bundle install command. So just copy this and paste it over here. I have already ran it, so I won't run it again. And then run bundle exec pod install as well. So this will basically do code generation for your project. So yeah, that's why this is important depending on the TypeScript file which you have created. So once that is done, again that will take little bit of time for the CocoaPod installation, so just be patient. Once that is done, you will just have to go to app.tsx, and now first we'll see how to use it. Later on we'll see the implementation. So first you can import it like this inside your app.tsx, and here I have just taken one state just to read the value. Once we get the value, this state we will update it and display it inside our text component. So here is our first button. So here I'm just calling, on click of it, I'm just calling save unencrypted data and pass the data which I want to save. So yeah, synchronous thing. Similarly for getting, I just call read unencrypted data. Once I have the data, I just update our set value. Similarly for save encrypted data as well, here I'll pass the data, and here I'll just call read encrypted data as well, and here I will just, once I have the data, I'll just call set value and pass our data to it. So once, that's how simple it is. And here once I have this text element, I'm just displaying our whatever value has been present. So hopefully you got the point. Next, what you will have to do is you will have to go to your React Native project. So here is my React Native project. You will have to go to the iOS folder and double click on this .exe workspace. This particular file, it will automatically open in Xcode. I have already opened it. Now if you see the documentation, they are telling us to create one group. So I have already created that group. So just come over here, and here you just have to right click on your project and just name it as new group, and name it as native save storage. Okay, so I have already created it, so I won't create it again. I'll just delete this. So inside that, firstly again you will have to right click, new file from template. This is in the documentation. Just click on Cocoa Touch class, click on next, make sure language is Objective-C, and you will have to name it as RCT and whatever is the name of your TypeScript file. In my case it is native save storage. Okay, so I have already created this file, so I won't create it again. I will just cancel this. So once you do that, you will see an header file this as well as an objective file this. Okay, then you just create an just create a Swift file as well, name native save storage, because the actual logic would be in Swift file. So just right click, don't use this new empty file, use this new file from template, because once you create this Swift file, so suppose I'll create this Swift file, name as native save storage. I won't exactly create it, but I already have it, that's why. Just click on create. As soon as you click on create, Xcode will ask, do you want to create a bridging header? Click yes, and Xcode will automatically create this particular header file for us. So this is required if you are trying to communicate from Objective-C to Swift. Okay, now next create another Swift file called secure enclave manager. Next you can just use this new empty file. For the first time I told you not to use this new empty file is because sometimes Xcode does not show you that create a bridging header. If you want to just create these two Swift files again, secure enclave manager as well as HMAC data signer. Now first I'll show you the code for this. To be completely honest with you, I don't understand all this code. I have just copied it from a guy called Xcoding with Alfian. So yeah, you can just, I'll simply scroll through this file, just copy the code. Only thing is here, make sure you change it to your own bundle identifier. So if you don't know where your bundle identifier is, you can just go to the project, go to sign in and capabilities, and here you can just change it to com.rnapp. I mean, you don't have to use com.rnapp, you can change it to whatever your bundle identifier is. Make sure you use the same thing. It's not necessary, it's just for good practice, I would say. Not necessary to use bundle identifier over here. So again, coming back to this particular file, I'll simply scroll through this file. I'm not an expert on this, I don't understand any of this cryptography stuff. So feel free to pause the video and just copy the code. Okay, so the next file is HMAC data signer as well, data sign manager, sorry. Again, this is way beyond my knowledge, I don't understand all this stuff. Again, I'll simply scroll through this file. Feel free to copy the code and just use it. Feel free to pause the video and copy the code. So yeah, that's it. These two files are done. Now we will come back to our header file. Again, coming back to the documentation, so we have already done this. So firstly, inside the header file, they tell us to copy this bit of code. So we'll just copy this bit of code and paste it over here. If you see, they have started this begin, but they haven't added this end. So this is missing from the documentation. Hopefully by the time you see it, they improve the documentation. If not, make sure you add this. But once you copy the header file, make sure you change the name as well. So this is our TypeScript file name followed by the word spec. Similarly over here as well, this should be our RCT native save storage header file name, and this is native save storage file name as well. So yeah, this is the entire header file name. Then this is the Objective-C file. So we have to convert this Objective-C to Objective-C++. So you just have to click on this file, change the extension from .m to .mm, so it is Objective-C++. Then again, I have mostly copied it from the documentation. Firstly, I have imported our header file. Then we have to import this bridging header as well. Now this instead of rnapp, you will have to write your own project name. So this is your project name. Typically it is the bridging header file name. So here you can see it is rnapp for me. So make sure you use rnapp, whatever is your bridging header file name, followed by -swift.h will be common for everyone. This I have copied it from documentation. This should be your own file name. Then again, this I have copied it from documentation. Here we are actually writing the implementation block. Then again, this also I have copied it from documentation. This should be your TypeScript file name. Here we are instantiating our Swift file, which I will show you later on. So this Swift file, so here we are instantiating that. This again I have just copied it. I'll just minimize this. So this again I have copied it from the documentation. Only thing is this should be your file name. Now here we are just overriding all the methods which we have created in our TypeScript file. Now for save encrypted, I have already created this method in our Swift file as well. So that's what we are doing. We are calling that method over here. We are just passing the file name as well as the value which we get it from React Native side. If you want, you can pass the file name from React Native side as well. It's up to you. But the file name is constant. That's why I've hard coded it over all the 4 times. Then for save unencrypted, again I'm just created one method on Swift side. I'm just calling that over here. Similarly for read unencrypted, I have created a method called load unencrypted. Similarly for read encrypted, I have created a method called load encrypted. Make sure you end this as well. Once that is done, you just have to come to your Swift file. Come over here, import foundation, CryptoKit and security. You have to mark it as @objc member, so Objective-C code can access this as well. Then here we just initialize our secure enclave manager as well as HMAC data signer. This is the URL where our data is stored inside documents directory. Then here I have created this save unencrypted data. So we just get our file URL. Then we just convert our string data to a proper Swift data, and then just write it to our file URL. Okay, in case of error, I'm just printing it to the console, but maybe you can handle it in much better way. For load encrypted, again we get the file URL, we read the data, it is in Swift data format, we convert it to string format and return it back to Objective-C side. Objective-C return it back to React Native side. Similarly for save encrypted, we convert the string data to proper data format. Then here you can see we are using the secure enclave manager.encrypt. Once the data is encrypted, we sign it using HMAC data sign manager. Then we create our file URL and we just do sign data.write to file URL. Then last one is load encrypted data. Again the same thing, we just get hold of our file URL, we sign the data, we get the data from the file URL, we just get our private key, we get the encrypted data, we decrypt it over here, then convert that Swift data to string format and return it back. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully that should be it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Do let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Bye.